미세기 수수동 라텐스든 보링 메몽기 척조 까마 주게라도 아니 차주원 원도라 주위 아니 팀을 한지도 메몽 정말 다시 딜레시유 아니 디링딜라 수수동 보링 메몽기 고주원이다 남준 아kambu 고주 나신 바진 디리 냠지 잔son 로미 토통 그 사진 팅 집지 쉐든 바데 농게 요래 띠에 특갑도 땀니 아니 아주 링거 데피기 요래 시유 아니 샴랑한 링근 딘 자름디 마슈아인 자름고 덕마게라 포자급 친구 제로 동아인 포자급 친구 제로 주니 섬 door sapala tuchi no shyayen tijela po jacob ton mirik tatun che ronlu luso ton chiwa luton nangkenge jaji pau pamu namji che te ngorche karma chi nonji ani ngorche wondi no no shya
minute of silence for the honor of fellow Tibetan women and Tibetan men who have sacrificed their lives and everything for our cause. Please, minute for silence, please. Thank you. Next we have welcome speech from Tibetan community of Switzerland and Lichtenstein President Mrs. Kamachukila.
아니 샹라 수시도 알르텐스 보리 메몽게 척조 까마추기라게 니 손신원지 까마추기라 베라노
공사장도 구텐 줍시 친구 초라 구장원도 땅베토 안다리데 친한인기 표면 상말라 구시 슈베냠도 대팽에기 한다 공어튼주 페이레 공어튼주다 아니 중대 멤버 속배 소소남바 디데신기 아니 미마 망부치 다리 찰레나야기 두수이네 아니 심슈 침부지 토네 안데 도스체니 페바델라 투지 체슈에이 아는 악추게 문에 셈딩네 슈기 인슈에이 다 다리nye 데 게제디 치미마 직미만 편달라 윤두 아니 예디 인지 토네마 슈기 인슈에이 United Nations was founded in 1945 after the World War II by 51 countries committed to maintaining, among other goals, international peace, security, and human rights, guided by the purposes and principles in its founding charter. However, despite its lofty goals, in September 1949, the newly established Communist Chinese government invaded eastern Tibet and captured Chamdo on 19 October 1950. Tibet was then a fully independent country and had international relationships with India, Nepal, Russia, England, among others. In the same year, the Tibetan government in Lhasa protested to the UN, but discussions on the issue was postponed. Emboldened, Chinese troops marched into Lhasa in 1959 and annexed the whole of Tibet. His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama was forced to flee in India, followed by more than 80,000 Tibetan refugees. Since then, over 6,000 monasteries were destroyed and 1 million Tibetans died or killed. Tibet's natural resources and fragile ecology were being irreversibly destroyed. Young girls and women are subjected to forced abortion and sterilization. Countless are detained for teaching or learning their own mother tongue. Countless more are tortured and killed simply for their beliefs and faith or for expressing their thoughts. Female political prisoners are raped until today. Monks and nuns are arrested, threatened, imprisonment on daily basis just for performing their religious duties into the homes of people who CCP suspect to be related to some prisoner of conscience. Arbitrary arrest, detention, beating and torture is a common practice. Indoctrination and re-education in the monasteries still continue to this day. Tibetan artists, singers and writers are hushed out of their home in early hours, and whereabouts of some, like Mr. Latin, is unknown, simply for expressing their view through their art. Massive uprooting and relocation of nomads by force without their consent. Even today, the whereabouts of Penchen Gyendunchöki is undisclosed and remain a mystery. Despite Chinese regime's tall claim of development, our brothers and sisters in Tibet are leading a very suffocated life due to the CCP's autocratic, divide and rule, assimilationist policies. Same policies they even export to the freedom-loving nations under the guise of Confucius Institutes. CCP's imperialist approach, bent on destroying Tibet's distinct language, culture, Tibetan identity, tradition, and Tibetan Buddhism, has forced about 160 young Tibetans to self-immolate and give up their lives. After what China did to the entire world by purposely lying and hiding the facts on the origins of COVID-19, thus making it one of the worst pandemics of the 21st century. The people of the world are still suffering and dealing with the loss of lives of their dears and near ones. The fear of third wave is lingering, and according to the scientists, COVID-19, which originated from Wuhan, will shake the world again. Be prepared. Decades ago, democratically elected powers thought engaging China economically will bring more freedom to the Chinese people. You know the result now. CCP is becoming more aggressive, more arrogant, more dangerous to the world peace and stability. Therefore, the continuous inclusion of CCP as a member of the United Nations Human Rights Council undermines the very credibility of Human Rights Council, as China, since 1950, has committed genocide in Tibet and is still continuing the same in Tibet, in eastern Turkestan, in southern Mongolia, and in Hong Kong. Chinese Communist Party's Belt and Road initiatives are another Beijing's aggression towards controlling the rest of the world. Therefore, the Tibetan community in Switzerland and Liechtenstein urge strongly to all the UN member states to uphold the charter which they are bound by it. China do not have the moral right, I repeat it, China do not have the moral right to be one of the members of the sacred institution like the Human Rights Council until CCP restores the human rights and dignity of the men and women of Tibet, of Eastern Mongolians, of Hong Kongers, and Southern Mongolian, India, and in Hong Kong. Lives of the Tibetans, Uyghurs, Southern Mongolians, and Hong Kongers are in their own land is a living example of a hell on earth. As long as CCP escapes United Nations Human Rights Council's scrutiny, we will gather here and fight for our right, month after month, year after year, generations after generations. The Southern Mongolians, Uyghurs, Hong Kongers, and Tibetans must unite and fight our common enemy, Communist Party of China, together. Long live His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and hope that our brothers and sisters in exile can unite with the Tibetan brothers and sisters living in Tibet. Pögyalo! 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 Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Samala tujiche shuei. Thank you.
차수 까마추길라 티시 쉐시아인 드니 제라 냠제 잔성 로미 토통 한석 시첩 엔젤라 비역이 아니 시익지워레 시투 이게지워레 아니 테 절로 나냐테 아니 근송 오물라인 테제디 근송 오물라 비로노.
Thank you, President Kamachugila. Now, Kusa Wangmula from Lausanne will read out the memorandum of appeal to the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. Kusa Wangmula.
The appeal letter sent to the UN High Commissioner of Human Rights. Your Excellency, we, the Tibetan community in Lausanne and Switzerland and Liechtenstein, are writing to request your attention to the worsening human rights situation in Tibet and appeal you to break your continued silence on Tibet. The government of China has consistently continued to violate every facet of human rights of Tibetans, leading to 155 known cases of self-immolations by Tibetans inside Tibet. Since 2009, as a mark of peaceful protest calling for the world's attention to these violations, but the UN and Your Excellency's office under your leadership has chosen to remain silent. We have therefore gathered here once again upraise your office and the UN about the rampant human rights violation being carried out against Tibetans in Tibet by the government of China with impunity, especially relevant on the ongoing 47th UN HRC session, violation of right to freedom of religion. It has been over 26 years since the enforced disappearance of 11th Panchen Lama Gendun Shuki Nyima in 1995. The Chinese authorities failed to provide adequate information to queries made and concern expressed by the Working Group of Enforced or Involuntary Disappearance and the Special Rapporteur on Religious Freedom, the Committee on Rights of Child. The Chinese government has consistently instituted repressive policies with the recurring pattern on the practice of Tibetan Buddhism. It has banned religious practice and rituals like offering sangsul, hoisting prayer flags, etc. Recently, the Chinese government instituted monastic management committees forced Tibetan monks to study the 7th Central Tibet Work Forum to enforce their political indoctrination. The monks must pledge their allegiance to the Chinese government and are forced to denounce His Holiness the Dalai Lama. On the other hand, China is now trying to meddle in the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama, which clearly shows flagrant disregard to the religious beliefs of Tibetans. Violation of freedom of expression. There is absolutely no freedom of expression in Tibet. Tibetans are subjected to high-tech surveillance and censorship, curtailing their freedom to access information, develop and discuss ideas, as well as to express their opinion. Tibetans who try to do so are punished and persecuted. Arbitrary arrests, detentions, sentencing, enforced disappearance, and torture are used as a means to suppress Tibetans who raise concern on environmental degradation, extensive mining, discrimination, corruption, etc. Please find below 2 recent cases of torture, custodial deaths. A 19-year-old Tibetan monk, Tenzin Nyima from Zawangpo, died on 19 January 2021 after being severely beaten and tortured by the Chinese authority for staging peaceful protests in November 2019. Tenzin Nyima was arbitrarily detained on 9 November 2019 and was briefly released in May 2020 before being rearrested on 11 August 2020. While in custody, Tenzin Nyima was tortured by the Chinese officials. He suffered severe beatings resulting in serious injuries and was not even given proper food, leading to the deteriorated health. So much so that he was unable to move or speak. In early October 2020, prison authority informed Tenzin Nyima's family of his serious health condition and told them to take him from the prison. On taking to hospital, the doctor declared his condition critical and the injuries were beyond treatment, and later succumbed to his injuries on 19 January 2021. Kunchok Jimba, 51, passed away on 6 February 2021 in the hospital in Lhasa after being tortured in prison. He was arrested for sharing information about the protests in village against illegal land grabs. He was tortured in prison while serving 21-year sentence. Violation of right to peaceful assembly. Tibetans do not have the right to assemble. Even forming of small group of air grievances against land grabs or destruction of environment leads to arbitrary detention, torture, arrest, and arbitrary sentencing. Every attempt of Tibetans to collectively fight for their right against illegal mining, forceful resettlement of nomads, and illegal land grabs are branded as black and evil crimes. Their attempts to form small groups for conservation of environment is viewed as an act of separatism. 9 Tibetans were sentenced for creating an informal organization urging Chinese authorities to return community land acquired by authorities in Rebgon County, Malhong, Tibetan Autonomous Prefectures. They were convicted for founding an evil organization. Violation of linguistic rights and right to education in mother tongue. With the bilingual policy, China is systematically removing Tibetan language from the education system in Tibet and replacing it with Mandarin. Tibetan children are not allowed to learn Tibetan language even during vacations, as the monasteries are barred from holding language classes for Tibetan children. Furthermore, Tibetans who raise concern about the language policies are detained, arrested, and sentenced. Well-known language rights activist Tashi Wangchuk was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison for inciting separatism, for raising concern about replacement of Tibetan language. Even after his release, he is under house arrest and there is no information about his health conditions. Sonam Palden, a monk from Kriti Monastery, was arrested in Ngaba County in September 2019 for posting critical views on China's policy on Tibetan language on WeChat, a social messaging app. Wang Chu from Shigatse Prefecture was detained in March 2019 for sharing Tibetan books on WeChat. Siring Dorje, resident of Pelep village in Tashizom Township, was detained in 20 February 2019 for having a phone conversation with his younger brother, who is in exile, about the importance of Tibetan language. He was subjected to torture in detention. Forceful relocation of Tibetan nomads. China has been forcefully resettling Tibetan nomads and subjecting them to militarized forced labor camps and urbanization, etc. For nomads, the nomadic lands are their source of livelihood and part of their lifestyle. Under China's mass relocation policy, Tibetans are arbitrarily denied their rights to land and none of the aforementioned procedural rights are provided. Since 2006, over 2 million Tibetans have been relocated under China's effort to build a new socialist countryside in Tar, claiming to improve the living standard of rural Tibetans and boosting the local economy. This includes the relocation of thousands of nomads from their old centuries-old nomadic lands. 50 to 80% of the 2.225 million Tibetan nomads have been relocated. The forced resettlements of nomads are also caused by the increasing development projects in Tibet, particularly mining activities and damming projects. This is not only depriving them for their sustainable lifestyle, but also making them dependent on government welfare scheme, which will be used as a coercive measure against them later on. Double lockdown and lack of transparency during COVID-19. Tibetans in general do not have easy access to healthcare facilities, especially when it comes to rural areas. Moreover, former Tibetan political prisoners upon release do not have access to healthcare under welfare benefits. The Chinese government is using the COVID-19 outbreak as an excuse to further suppress Tibetans. Tibetans are in double lockdown, situations where the objective of the lockdown is not prevention and cure, but suppression and subjugation. Instead of sending health workers, the Chinese government is sending military soldiers. Instead of sending temperature screening device, the Chinese government is sending guns and grenades. And instead of installing health centers, the Chinese government is installing military tents and bunkers. China has also suppressed information about the COVID-19 cases among Tibetans, including the number of active cases, deaths, and the vaccination drive. Violation of right to privacy. Tibetans are subjected to high-tech surveillance by China. Their phone, social media accounts, and even personal chats are intercepted and monitored. Furthermore, Tibetans are encouraged to spy on each other, sometimes even forced to do so with threats. There are several cases, few mentioned already under right to expression, where Tibetans were arrested, tortured, and sentenced for sending messages which go against China's narrative and propaganda. In view of this, we call upon Your Excellency, break your silence on Tibet and speak about the egregious human rights violation in Tibet. Urge China to stop the ongoing cultural genocide in Tibet. Urge China to stop meddling in the religious belief and tradition of Tibetans and to release Tibet's 11th Panchen Lama Genpin Shiki Nyima and share his whereabouts. Urge China to stop the torture and arbitrary detention of Tibetans and release the Tibetan political prisoners, and to stop the forceful resettlements of Tibetan nomads and the militarized forced labor camps in Tibet. Thank you.
근소 어머라 닌 도판에 두치는 하셔야 아니 질랑아서 캄보디아인 아니 캄보 저까라 메모 처마가 가식 치즈 나라 나셔야 그래서 내가 좀 미녀녀 맛이 묘하나요 아주 가식 치즈는 캄보디아인 내가 미세가 캄보디아니 로덴라 땅 체키나마니 아니 자주 주샤 요라듯이 로덴 땅 체키니 별어노.
Thank you, Kusala. And now we have a slogan for today's slogan.
Tibet!
Tibet is burning!
China is lying!
Tibet is burning!
China is lying!
Tibet is burning!
China is lying.
China lies!
Tibet dies!
China lies!
Tibet dies!
China lies!
Tibet dies!
We want justice!
In Tibet!
We want justice!
In Tibet!
We want justice!
In Tibet!
Release all political prisoners!
In Tibet!
Release all political prisoners!
In Tibet!
Release all political prisoners!
In Tibet!
We want!
Freedom!
We want!
Freedom!
We want!
Freedom!
Tibet belongs to!
Tibet!
Tibet belongs to!
Tibetan.
Tibet belongs to!
Tibetan.
Long live!
Dalai Lama.
Long live!
Dalai Lama.
UNO!
Make the China accountable!
UNO!
Make China accountable!
UNO!
Make China accountable!
Shame on China! Shame on China.
Shame.
Shame on China.
Shame, shame.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Long show, long show.
Long show,
Long show.
Long show, long show.
Permi nam.
Long show, long show.
Permi
Long
zo.
show.
Matcha, matcha.
Same shoe matcha.
Matcha, matcha.
Same shoe matcha.
Peggy Dakpo.
Permi yin.
Peggy Dakpo.
Permi yin.
We want human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
Release all political prisoners.
In Tibet.
Release all political prisoners.
In Tibet.
We want.
Human rights.
We want.
Freedom.
Tibet belongs to you.
Tibetans.
Tibet belongs to you.
Tibetans.
Tibet belongs to you.
Tibetans.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
UNO.
Make the China accountable.
UNO.
Make the China accountable.
UNO.
China accountable.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
Shame on
Shame.
China.
Shame on China.
Shame. Shame.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Peggy Dakpo.
Permi yin.
Peggy Dakpo.
Permi yin.
Long show, long show.
Permi zo.
Long show, long show.
Permi long show.
Long show, long show.
Permi long show.
Matcha, matcha.
Sim shoe matcha.
Matcha, matcha.
Sim shoe matcha.
Matcha, matcha.
Sim shoe matcha.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
Release all political prisoners.
In Tibet.
Release all political prisoners.
In Tibet.
Release all political prisoners.
In Tibet.
We want.
Freedom.
We want.
Freedom.
We want.
Freedom.
Tibet belongs to you.
Tibetans.
Tibet belongs to you.
Tibetans.
Tibet belongs to you.
Tibetans.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
UNO.
We want.
VNO.
We want justice.
UNO.
We want justice.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
Shame, shame.
Shame on China.
Shame, shame.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Long show, long show.
Permi long show.
Long show, long show.
Permi long show.
Matcha, matcha.
Sim shoe matcha.
Matcha, matcha.
Sim shoe matcha.
Matcha, matcha.
Sim shoe matcha.
Peggy Dakpo.
Permi yin.
Peggy Dakpo.
Permi yin.
Peggy Dakpo.
Permi yin.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
Release the political prisoners.
In Tibet.
Release the political prisoners.
In Tibet.
Release all the political prisoners.
In Tibet.
We want
Freedom.
We want
Freedom.
We want
Freedom.
We want
Freedom.
Tibet belongs to
Tibetans.
Tibet belongs to
Tibetans.
Tibet belongs to
Tibetans.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
UNO.
Make China accountable.
UNO.
Make China accountable.
Shame on China.
Shame on
Shame.
Shame on China.
Shame, shame.
Shame on China.
Shame, shame.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Peggy Dapo.
Permi yin.
Peggy Dapo.
Permi yin.
Matcha matcha.
Sim shoe matcha.
Matcha matcha.
Sim shoe matcha.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want.
Justice in Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
Release all political prisoners.
In Tibet.
Release all political prisoners.
In Tibet.
Release all political prisoners.
In Tibet.
We want.
Freedom.
We want.
Freedom.
We want.
Freedom.
Tibet belongs to.
Tibetans.
Tibet belongs to.
Tibetans.
Tibet belongs to.
Tibetans.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
UN no.
Make China accountable.
UN no.
Make China accountable.
UN no.
Make China accountable.
Shame on China.
Shame, shame.
Shame on China.
Shame, shame.
Shame on China.
Shame, shame.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Longsho, Longsho.
Bemin Longsho.
Longsho, Longsho.
Bemin Longsho.
Longsho, Longsho.
Bemin Longsho.
Macha, Macha.
Simshu Macha.
Macha, Macha.
Simshu Macha.
Macha, Macha.
Simshu Macha. We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies. Bemin.
Macha Macha.
Simshu Macha.
Macha Macha.
Simshu Macha.
China, China, China.
Out, out, out.
China, China, China.
Out, out, out.
China, China, China.
Out, out, out.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
China lies.
Tibet dies.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
Longsho, Longsho.
Bemin Longsho.
Longsho, Longsho.
Bemin Longsho.
Longsho, Longsho.
Bemin Longsho.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
We demand human rights.
In Tibet.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
Tibet is burning.
China is lying.
China.
tuchi no shwayin jila tarik lengu di sangu sejo te jalo no yare ni sangu sejo jalo no ni te lozong peden la re ni lozong peden la pero no
London dan Segila, thank you so much. Now we are PRO from Tibetan community of Swiss and Liechtenstein. Lobsang Pandela will read out the press release today.
Leslie, tati taringi sagyo seda di inge nablo josh. The Tibetan community of Switzerland and Liechtenstein has organized a one-day peaceful demonstration on 25th June 2021 in front of the United Nations building in Geneva, sidelining the ongoing 47th UN Human Rights Council session to draw the attention of the UN and member states to the worsening situation of human rights in Tibet. In the last 60 years, Tibetans are suffering under the illegal occupation by China. More than 1.2 million Tibetans have been killed, and at least 6,000 monasteries have been destroyed. Every single facet of human rights is being violated in Tibet by the Chinese authorities. Tibetans are subjected to high-tech surveillance and censorship, curtailing their freedom to access information, develop and discuss ideas, as well as to express their opinion. Tibetans who try to do so are punished and persecuted. Arbitrary arrests, detentions, sentencing, enforced disappearances and tortures are used as a means to suppress Tibetans. The Chinese government has consistently instituted repressive policies with a recurring patterns on the practice of Tibetan Buddhism. It has been over 26 years since the enforced disappearance of 11th Panchen Lama of Tibet, Gyendö Chögyö Nyima, and his entire family. Since 2009, around 155 Tibetans have self-immolated in Tibet, protesting against the oppressive regime of China. China has clamped down Tibet and does not allow any UN officials, diplomats, journalists, or even tourists to visit Tibet. What happened to Tibetans is now happening to Uyghurs, Christians, and Hong Kongers through concentration camps and brutal crushing of protests. China has also become a threat to global peace and stability through expansionist agenda in India, South China Sea, and Belt and Road initiatives. With such abysmal human rights record and expansionist agenda, China is not worthy of becoming a member of UN Human Rights Council and therefore should not be elected. Appeal to UN and member states. 1. Press the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Mrs. Michelle Bachelet, to break her continued silence on Tibet. 2. Press China to release Tibet's 11th Panchen Lama Gyendö Chögyö Nyima, his entire family, Chade Rinpoche, and all Tibetan political prisoners. 3. Press China to stop rampant violation of human rights in Tibet, especially using COVID-19 as an excuse for further suppression in Tibet. 4. Press China to stop ongoing cultural genocide in Tibet. 5. Appoint an independent expert to monitor and report on human rights violation in China, including Tibet, Xinjiang, Southern Mongolia, and Hong Kong. 6. Press China to stop its expansionist agenda and aggression against neighboring countries, including India and in South China Sea, which threatens the global peace and stability. Thank you very much.
로존 배달라 닝 토판네 두치 너시와요.